Hello, friends. Today's video is going to focus on the full moon in Aquarius that is coming up on August 9th. There's a lot that's happening with this full moon. We're in Leo season, so we're in a fire sign, and then the Aries is an air sign, so we've got fire and air. And oh my goodness, do we have a lot of kind of incendiary energy already happening here. So we're going to get, some more incendiary energy here, but it's in a beautiful gate. And so we'll be unpacking that and different aspects that are going on during this full moon, and taking a look at how can we really step more into the fullness of who we are and our new world leadership, our new earth leadership. The planets have been lighting this up really a lot. And of course, Leo is the king of the forest or the king of the jungle, right? And is all about sovereignty. And so, sure, we want to be looking at how are we stepping into more sovereignty in our own lives? How are we stepping into more leadership? And so we'll be unpacking all of that in today's video. And if you like the video, do give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. And I'd love it if you leave a comment. I always love to hear from you. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. A couple of announcements. We are having a live stream on YouTube, and it'll be on Facebook as well on the 7th of August. So this is for the Lion's Gate, which peaks on the 8th of August, but really is already open and will be open until the 12th. So you can find out more about that if you want to go and watch my August transit report. And of course, the astrologers are talking about this a lot, so you can go and get some more in depth there. But this live stream is going to be very experiential. We're going to do an energy practice. We're going to do a guided meditation. I did one of these recently for the Leo new moon. People had incredible experiences. It's amazing when we gather with intention, right? And that we are tuning in and we're wanting to connect with our own higher selves and with the highest frequency energies and support systems that we can reach. So that's what we'll be doing there, and I'm really excited about it. So I hope that you'll put that on your calendar, find out what time it is for you, where you are in the world. And then the other is that we have the ability for you to now download your own mandala of your own human design chart. Of course, we still have the ability, you get your body graph, but now you can get your mandala as well. So it's at yourfreehumandesignchart.com. I will put that link down below, and I'll put the link for the live stream for Lionsgate down below as well. And I hope you'll take advantage of both of them. So this full moon is going to be taking place in the early morning here on the Pacific coast of North America. And so it's really kind of the night of the 8th is when it's going to be at its peak, which is the peak of the Lion's Gate. So there's a lot of energy here that's going to be inviting us into our hearts, into higher consciousness, and helping us to just kind of let go what isn't relevant for us anymore. Now you can see here that the Earth and the Moon are in the gate 13, which is on the G center, and the G center is quite lit up. You can see the 7, the 13, the 25, and the 46 are all lit up during this particular full moon. So this is big heart energy, right? Remember that the G center is the center for love and lovability, identity, and direction. And so all of the gates on that are going to be love-filled energies. And they're also going to be about a sense of who we are and what is our direction in life. Now, the gate 13 is in the sensing circuit. So it's creative energy. It's right-brained energy. It's experiential. It's embodied. It's expansive. It's not logical. It's not rational. It's not strategic. It's not linear. It's none of those things. And it is really, it's known as the gate of narrative. creative in quantum human design, or the gate of the listener in traditional human design. And this is an energy. People who have this defined in their charts often have other people want to confess to them. Like if I see somebody who's got this defined, I'll say, do people like to come and tell you their stories? Maybe sometimes they've never told anybody else. And people are like, yeah, they really do. And I'm like, well, that's that gate 13. So one of the great things about the 13, it is one of the 3 storytelling gates in the chart, which are all in the sensing circuit. And it's about our ability to kind of recast the stories that we've been living inside of so that we have a clearer, more accurate, and more empowering and uplifting story that we are telling ourselves about who we are and, about our direction in life, about our love and our lovability. And so you want to be taking a look at that for yourself and just see, what stories am I living inside of? This is also something where you may want to do this with a friend where you can all share with each other about, if you take a moment to just kind of think about, wow, how am I really feeling about my life? What is the narrative, right, that I am telling myself? And it might even be one that's been kind of in the unconscious. You might not even have been aware of it. And this is a time where it might come forward. After all, this is a full moon that tends to illuminate things that have been in the subconscious, in the background, in the darkness. They were there and they were operating and they were influencing us, but we weren't aware of them. So here we've got this beautiful full moon that is lighting up this gate of the stories that we're telling ourselves about who we are, right? It's on the identity center. Right. And so just check that out for yourself. And it may be that, like I said, in terms of getting together with a trusted friend and doing this, because there is a quality of the 13 of telling your story to someone else and being able to have somebody else's perspective help you recast that story so that it is one that really feels good to you, that, uplifts you and makes you, feel more engaged, have more agency in your life. So remember that Aquarius is where Pluto is right now. Pluto's in Aquarius. But remember that Aquarius is this energy for sovereignty, for personal sovereignty, like what I like to call inner sovereignty, in community, inspired and infused and aligned with cosmic consciousness. And so this is something that we are also leaning into. Here we are in Leo season, which is all about sovereignty. And then Aquarius is also about our ability to step more into our personal sovereignty. So there's a lot of energy around personal sovereignty, or inner sovereignty. And this will be a main theme for us during that Lionsgate live stream that I'll be doing. We'll be talking a lot about sovereignty and how you can start to open up your own inner gates to your own inner sovereignty so that you can feel more empowered in your life and you can really take command without trying to control things, but from a deep place of feeling soul aligned so that you can have more agency in your life. Another aspect of this chart is that the full channel of the 31/7 is lit up here during this full moon. So you can see the sun is in the 7 and Mercury is in the 31. You can see the dates down here on the bottom of the slide. And so the overlap is when the sun is in the 7. Okay. Mercury has been in that 31, is there for quite a bit, for a couple of weeks. And then the sun is just here for about 5-6 days. And so this is known as the channel of the alpha in traditional human design. And it's absolutely the collective channel of leadership. And the 7 was known, I was told it was kind of like the chief of staff. The 31 was more like the president and the 7 was more like the chief of staff. So that's still in a hierarchical way of thinking about these things. So what we're doing now is we are really growing our engagement engagement with and our belief in and our desire for the new earth is that we are evolving our relationship to leadership. And that's what's happening here in this particular channel, because the 7 is collaboration. Right. And so the new earth leadership is very much about collaboration. How do we work together? This is so important that I dedicated an entire pillar in my book on feminine sovereignty to collaboration. Mutually beneficial collaborations is pillar number 7, because this is a part of how we are breaking down the structures where we've kind of been subject to top-down authority, right? That have really, told us what to do, right? There's been a lot of power over, whereas the 7 is much more about horizontal leadership, horizontal engagement with each other. And that 31, I've renamed New Earth Leader. I think it's called Democracy, or the Leader in Quantum Human Design. But I really like to name it and own it as being this leadership for the new earth. And as you're hearing me talk about this, or you've looked at this, if you've been paying attention to previous transit reports that I've done, you might take a look at this and say, oh gosh, last month, on the Leo new moon, the Leo new moon, which was just at the beginning of the Leo season, we also had this. And you'll see here that Mercury and the Sun have flipped positions. So the Sun is now in the 31 and Mercury is in the 7. That's where it was on the Leo new moon. And then here on the full moon, just a couple weeks later, we've got those same gates lit up by the Sun and by Mercury again. So could the message get any clearer, folks? About the invitation to be stepping into and co-creating, imagining, using that powerful force of our imagination, which Pluto is in Aquarius and is inviting us to really use our imaginations, right? Is how do we imagine leadership that works for us? A couple of years ago, I did really a challenge, an intensive that was called the Lightworkers Leadership Codes. And I'm going to be making that available again. We're editing it a bit, and I'm going to make it available again because I did a pretty in-depth breakdown about the leadership gates in the human design chart and different ways that we think about leadership and how we can be moving from like power over leadership to shared leadership to rotating leadership, right? I had a bunch of different models for leadership. So I'm going to be making that available again. I don't have it yet, but stay tuned for that because after all, the planets, they're just saying we need new leadership. And you look out into the world and, it's pretty clear that we do. And then we also have at the same full moon, we have Venus and Jupiter are both in the gate of 39, which is the gate of provocation or recalibration. And so Jupiter is going to be there for a while. It got there earlier. And then Venus has just come in for a few days. I think it's 4 or 5 days that Venus is also in the 39. And what I want to emphasize here is that the 39, it's one of those, it's kind of known as one of the gnarly gates in human design because it's provocation, right? Provoking. And I have this defined in my chart. So I've spent a lot of time learning how to dance with the 39, but it actually has some wonderful qualities when it's kind of like the 51 is also like that. It has some wonderful qualities when we can lean into the really awakened and empowered expression of it. And so the 39 is about a pattern interrupt in our relationship to abundance. And not just abundance, like we think of more money, right? But abundance meaning that we are cared for and we are provided for by source energy, by spirit. That we always have what we need when we need to have it, and that we don't need to worry so much. Unfortunately, we have been really conditioned to believe that there isn't enough for me or for you or for everyone. And we have lived inside of a culture that has allowed a massive inequity in wealth, right? Where a very small number of people hold a huge amount of the world's resources, right? And there's all kinds of other people who don't really have any kind of resources. And so we need to provoke this setup so that we can have a different way of organizing our economic world, and we can have a different way of relating to each other, because that is super top-down hierarchical power over structure, right? When you think about it, that massive inequality having to do with wealth and resources. So if you can really kind of embrace the 39 with that understanding to say, yeah, we're going to provoke, we're going to break up the patterns that we have agreed to, those of us who are not part of that small group of people who have massive resources. The rest of us are kind of like, wait a minute, I'm not going to go on agreeing to that. I'm not going to go on giving my life force to an economic system that is so inequitable and cruel, really, in a lot of ways, right? There's a lot of cruelty built into that. And so we want to be breaking that up. We want to pattern interrupt in that. So one of the things that you might look at, here we've got Venus coming in, the voice of the divine feminine, and our values in human design, and wanting to break up the ways that we have actually valued that inequality, because we maybe have had in the back of our minds, well, one of those days I'm going to be one of those wealthy people. And that keeps us in the game, right? And this is one of the ways we've been seduced into doing things against our own highest good, because there's this carrot that's dangled in front of us, right? That says this hierarchy is okay. Because we were taught that, if we just, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and we just work hard, we can have the American dream. We have to remember that the American dream was really founded on very extractive and colonial ideas about how culture works, how society works, and about how reality works. And that's part of what we're disrupting now, right? We're wanting to break that up and really kind of step back and go, wait a minute, what else could be true? So this is happening right with that 31-7, right? The channel that's lit up, that's bringing energy from the heart center, from the G center, the center for love and lovability and identity and direction, right up into the throat where it can be expressed, right? Where it can manifest, where we can activate. And then we also have this full moon is in that gate 13, which is asking us, what are the stories we're living inside of, right? Do we need to provoke the stories and the patterns we're living inside of so that we can have a more expanded and more accurate view of our relationships to source? And when we do that, does that give us new impetus to have a different kind of leadership that's active in our world? Right? How can we become the agents of this new kind of leadership when we break apart, right? We break apart the agreements that we've made in the past, some of which are unconscious, which are going to become conscious because it's a full moon, right? Some of it's going to become conscious. And it's when things become conscious is when we're at choice. See, when they're in the unconscious and they're just operating, we're not really at choice because we don't even know it's there. But when it comes up into our conscious mind and we go, oh, wow, I've been really living in this story that is like, oh, but if I can just get, enough wealth for me, everything will be okay. But that keeps us in this game, right? That's an example. But what is it for you? Right? This is a really good time for you to kind of journal with yourself, ask your higher self, ask your angels and guides, whatever support systems, whatever upstairs team you have that really works for you, right? That really speaks to you and nourishes you and supports you to help you to gain more awareness during this time. And just remember, full moons are really powerful and they last. The impact of them lasts for, 6 months, a year. So here we are, basically, in the light of the Lion's Gate, which is helping us to connect with our galactic neighbors and our galactic ancestors, and is helping us to really break apart the stories that we have maybe lived inside of about how there isn't enough for us, and that we can start to tell new stories that will then fire and fuel new kinds of leadership. And something that every one of us can participate in, because we need new forms of leadership at every single strata of society. It's not just in the political world or just at the top there. We need it really. We need to have a paradigm shift around our relationship to leadership. And you, my friend, can be an agent of that. So come to the live stream on the 7th. We'll dive into some more of this, and you can bring in here, because this is really kind of a preparation for this full moon. It's a preparation for the peak of the Lion's Gate. And so you can come in and really prepare yourself on the 7th so that when this happens, the following night, really, and the day going into it, is that you can really make the best of it for yourself. And we're in a time where we are so being called to go inside, right? And remember this, a lot of this is on the identity center, and we're going inside and seeing what is our truths on the inner landscape. So that's the invitation here, is for you to really be making your own reflection, your own internal inquiry, your own discernment, your own ability to create your own breakthroughs, because the 39 is an energy like the 51 that can help you create your own breakthroughs, right? Because you become more aware. And when you become aware, you can make new choices. All right, my friends, that's what I wanted to share with you today. Go and get your mandala at yourfreehumandesignchart.com and join us for the live stream. And please do leave a comment below about what is the number one thing that really inspired you or struck you, or maybe, gave you a new perspective that you heard today. All right, my friends, many, many blessings. I hope to see you on the 7th. Take good care. Bye for now.